Sometimes the people that follow us ask us, why do we always talk about Trump and Elon and take a political stance against certain things, especially against right-wing candidates? And, well, I guess I'm probably here to explain some of that. You see, there always needs to be a counterbalance. There always needs to be somebody in direct opposition. If it's not somebody that's right-wing attacking leftist talking points, it's a leftist attacking right-wing talking points. So there has to be a balance, right? The entire Twitter platform cannot completely be about right-wing ideological points of view. There needs to be a middle ground that somewhere we can meet and discuss these things as civil human beings instead of resorting to violence, hatred, and even war. When you have powerful people pushing divisiveness, there is a subset of the population that adheres to what these people are saying because all these people see is the power. What do I mean by that? I mean that psychologically these people believe that there are members of society that are higher up on the food chain than they are, and that they should be giving them reverence or even worship. Sometimes we see there are so many different types of fanboys and fangirls that really kneel down to these powerful people such as Elon Musk and Donald Trump. There is evident acts of psychological warfare and propagandic lies, and they expect these serfs to swallow it. The sheep do swallow it. The sheep do follow along with it. And that is the problem. The problem with that is lies will grow. The lies will grow unless they are put into check. Hatred is one hell of a drug. Spreading love, kindness, and compassion is a lot harder to do than invoking hatred. It's very easy for someone to get caught up in the vileness of disliking someone and getting caught up into the trickster energy of hatred. It's very easy for these people to spew their hateful rhetoric, find an enemy to blame, and get a backing, and they take power. Some dude in Germany did that in the 1930s. That person targeted Jews, trans, gays, immigrants. And if you look closely, that's the same tactics being used today by these powerful people. So you have to be very careful about what messages you're accepting. And I'm not just talking about the GOP messages. And we'll get into that in a second, because I have a beef to pick with Christians who identify as Trump supporters. But the messages that you're receiving, if it's making you fearful, hateful, resentful, you have to understand that that's being used in a particular way, that energy. And I'm not going to get into any type of new age dynamics about collective consciousness and energy, but the point is, your energy is being used to focus on a particular narrative. When you become that person, when you become full of hatred, full of fear, and that energy is directed and focused against the good, against the people who want to help. Look at the laws that are even against feeding homeless people. They exist. There's so many people from Food Not Bombs that have been arrested and given citations because they're actually trying to do some help for the community and feed homeless and starving people. And that gets me to the point of, let's talk about this as a society as a whole. Because you always hear the excuse that the United States was founded on Christianity. No, it was not, and the Founding Fathers even stated such. Here's just a couple quotes from Thomas Jefferson, who stated, "Christianity neither is nor ever was part of common law." Another one, he stated, "Christianity is the most perverted system that ever shone on man." And then another statement he made, "Religions are all alike, founded upon fables and mythologies." To take it a step further, John Adams said, "The government of the United States of America is not, in any sense, the foundation on the Christian religion. The United States is not a Christian nation, any more than it is a Jewish nation or a Muslim nation." And then Thomas Paine said, "Whenever we read the obscene stories, the voluptuous debaucheries, the cruel and torturous executions, the unrelenting vindictiveness with which more than half the Bible is filled, it would be more consistent that we call it the word of a demon rather than the word of God. It has served to corruption and to brutalize mankind." James Madison, "Religion and government will both exist in greater purity the less they are mixed together. The purpose of separation of the church and state is to keep forever from these shores the ceaseless strife that has soaked the soil of Europe with blood for centuries." That's what the founders said. That's the Founding Fathers. So anytime you hear a Republican or patriot try to invoke the Founding Fathers, understand they're misrepresenting what the Founding Fathers wanted for the United States. So now let's analyze what the core of Christianity is versus what the GOP theocratic version is. And there are plenty of people in the Republican Party who actually have stepped up and said, yes, we do want a nationalist theocracy, which, of course, goes in contradiction to what the Founding Fathers that they consistently invoke wanted. So Christianity's Messiah is Jesus, and he preached about love, compassion, tolerance, and he was always helping people in need, right? I mean, it's all over the pages of the New Testament, attesting to what Jesus did for lots of people. Not once did Jesus ever preach about denying people entry to a country, and it just is pretty blasphemous of these right-wing evangelicals and so-called Christians to purport that Jesus would have anything to do with their narrative. What Jesus said was very contrary to what Republicans are saying. Jesus said, "But I say to you here, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. To one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you. And from who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. And as you wish that others would do to you, do so to them." So while they attack the immigrants on the southern border, who are probably 90 to 99% Christians trying to enter the country, let us realize that Jesus himself was an immigrant. Jesus fled to Egypt because, what? People wanted him dead, right? He had a lot of people chasing after him, wanting him dead. So now let's reflect on what the immigrants trying to get into our country want. They're fleeing from something. They're fleeing from a hostile territory that they no longer want to live in so badly that they'd pick up, gather their stuff, their children, their wives, their husbands, whatever, and put a backpack on and go countless miles to try to make a better life for themselves in a place that they have no idea what is waiting for them here. It's a mystery. They don't exactly know how America is. They've probably never been here. So what the GOP's message fundamentally comes down to is what is being called the conspiracy theory of the Great Replacement Theory. And they're bundling this up with a whole bunch of lies combined with, here comes the brown people. That's what it's all about. They're afraid that white people are going to become extinct, that their conservative lifestyle is going to become extinct because no one will no longer reflect their ideological viewpoints. But what they don't realize is the younger generations do not reflect their ideological viewpoints at all. Most younger people are more tolerant and accepting of other people. And this is why they're also complaining why the voting age should be raised to 21 to 26. And they're just afraid of this younger generation that's going to change the dynamics of our society. And it needs to be changed. We can no longer live in an intolerant society that points the finger at people because of the way they look, because of the way of who they want to be. It's none of our business. You don't go home with that person. And if you do, then you have the right to confront them about certain things, but they're not in your space. Leave people alone. These people always preach about freedom. Stop infringing upon other people's freedom. That's my point. That's Anonymous's point. And I can't speak for the entirety of Anonymous, but there's no way that Anonymous supports a fascist, theocratic state. And it never has. That's why it's so against what Israel's doing to Palestinians. So the GOP's goals are more about race than it is religion. It's more about containing the white nationalistic dream of having a pure country rather than having a country of tolerance and diversity. If that wasn't the case, then they'd be helping these people at the border and acclimating them. They would be trying to help as the best way they can because they'd be trying to do the what? What is it? The Christian thing. Yet so many people have been distorted and deluded. Their vision has been just completely disoriented. So many people have been pushed into darkness they can no longer see. So their reality is disoriented. It's distorted. Hatred is never the way forward. Yet there are so many people who are on this platform, on X, Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call this place, the hellscape that it is, but they push hate and they identify as Christian. But if they were truly Christian, wouldn't they be reflecting some empathy, some compassion, and wanting some justice for the people who are running away for their lives? There's so many different points that the hypocrisy of the far right and the right wing have pushed, such as they're Christian, but they don't believe in medical care, free health care. They're Christian, but they don't believe in welfare for the poor or the disenfranchised. But yet, in the Bible, Jesus was giving out food and healed the sick for free. He was literally, supposedly doing miracles, right? I mean, if you open up the Bible and read some of these passages, this dude was like, dude, you want some fish? Here, boom, here's some fish. He was throwing bread all over the place. Eat this shit. He was making wine. Let's get drunk, bro. But what do we got here now with this new type of theological thinking on the far right? That Jesus didn't do any of these things. In fact, some outlets, some Christians are even saying, well, we don't like Jesus anymore because he's too woke. Well, then you're not Christian, bro. I'm not a Christian. I don't identify as Christian, but I respect the dude's message 100%. I think that if Christians actually followed the message of their own Messiah, they'd actually have a very awesome, good force in the world that would be helping so many different people. And don't get me wrong, there are Christians out there that do that. There are Christians out there that understand. I've talked to them, and they're really full of soul and they're robust about what they want to do to help people. And they're activists. I've met priests and nuns side by side with anarchists on the street when I'm protesting. And it's a beautiful thing that almost brings me to tears, because it shows me the world can change, that we are not stuck in these dynamics of what the state wants us to be, what these power structures want us to be. There are good people out there, but the good people need to stop sitting the fuck down. The good people need to get up and start being vocal, because right now you have a bunch of crazy fucking idiots on the other side screaming their heads off, and they're a minority. They're not the majority. They're making it seem like they are the most important thing in the world and that they have the numbers when they don't. You want to talk about numbers? 28% of people in the United States identify as Republican. 36% of people in the United States identify as Democrats. You know how many people of that 28% that identify as Republicans are actually Trump supporters? You know how many? 14 fucking percent. That's it. And those statistics you can even look up. It's ridiculous. So they're not fucking, in power. They have no power if you stand up. They can't win this election if you stand up. And yes, and a lot of my leftist friends are right. Joe Biden sucks. I don't like him, but I'd rather fucking vote for a block of wood than to see fascism take over a country filled with so many different beautiful people who just want to be themselves, express themselves in a free way. Anyways, wow, did I go off on a rant? I hope everyone's doing great. I love you all. I know I haven't been on in a while. It's been a little difficult to get on. So I'm going to be trying to get back into the swing of things. I hope everyone had a great holiday. Happy Yule, happy Christmas, whatever you want to celebrate. And I hope that everyone had a great New Year's. So love one another and speak truth to power and don't fight. Peace.